Hi, today we're going to cook together a delicious rustic pea pesto tart. But before we start, we must wash our hands. Have you washed yours? Yes? All right, let's come down and we're going to have a look at what ingredients and utensils we need to cook together today. All right, we've got our peas, we've got our pepita or pumpkin seeds, we've got some pine nuts. You can use any kind of seeds or nuts that you like, depending on whether you've got any intolerances or allergies to them. We've got some olive oil, we've got some Parmesan cheese, some herbs. This herb is parsley, but again, you can use whatever herbs you've got growing in your garden. We've got a little bit of garlic in there, and we've got some puff pastry. The utensils I have are some spoons. We have a kid-friendly knife. We have something to chop on. You can have a chopping board or a plate. Then we've also got a Ziploc bag, some baking paper, a pen to write our name on the baking paper, and a baking tray. Obviously the baking tray and the pen everybody can use, but the other things are for you to use. Remember, if there's a food or ingredient that you don't feel comfortable with or you don't want to eat, that is okay. Perhaps you want to include it while you're making your tart today, and then once it's cooked, you don't feel like eating it. That's okay. Or perhaps you don't even want to include it when you're creating your tart. That's okay too. Remember, you're the chef and this is your creation. All right, let's get down and let's cook together. With a kid-friendly knife, we're going to chop up a wee piece of garlic, even half of this. But when we're using a knife, even though this one is a kid-friendly one and can't cut your fingers, we need to practice and learn as if it is a sharp knife so that when we progress onto a sharp knife, we know what to do. So when using a knife, we like to use a tiger claw, like this. Can you see my fingers? They're curled over. Tiger claw. Roar like a tiger. Tiger claw. So curve your fingers over and then we chop. And now we're not going to chop up our fingers. All right. Oh, I can smell the garlic. We probably only need about that much. And I chop it into teeny, tiny, wee little pieces. Chop, 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 chop. Don't forget your tiger claw when you move it around. Good-o. Garlic's done. Now we need to get on to the herbs. I have some beautiful parsley here from my garden, and I'm going to rip a little bit off the leaves, and then I'm going to rip it together. I get a little bit more. I love parsley. Oh, can you smell that? Oh, I love it. When you rip it up, you can really smell the flavour and aroma of the herb. I even like to try a little bit. It's very refreshing. All right, now we need to get our Ziploc bag. Normally I would make a pesto in a mortar and pestle or in a blender, but for this exercise we're going to have a bit of fun with this bag. So we open it up. It's a bit tricky, you might need to get someone to help you. And we're going to pop all of our ingredients in there. We've got our garlic that we chopped up, our parsley that we ripped up. Get it all because it's delicious. All right, now we need about 4 spoons of our peas. Can you count with me? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, what else do we need? We need to get some nuts or seeds. I'm going to use a little bit of both. So we need about 1 tablespoon. So I'll do half of the seeds, the pumpkin seeds, and half of the pine nuts. Make sure I get that all off. We need about a tablespoon of the cheese, so 1. And we need some oil. Now this oil is a liquid, so it moves around. And we try not to drip it everywhere, but don't worry if you do. Get about 1 tablespoon. Bring it over and pour it in. Oh, delicious. I'm going to pop that there. Now what we need to do is we need to seal it again. We need to close it up. Again, if you need a little bit of help, ask out for someone. I'm going to push the 2 sides together and seal it. I'm also going to squeeze to get out the air. So we've got a little pocket of our pea pesto. Isn't it beautiful? Look at all the colours that are there. But to make pesto, we need to make a paste. But we're going to make a rustic paste. So we're going to need a spoon to smush and squish it all together. We're going to use the back of our spoon to be able to do that. Now make sure you keep it in one area so you don't bang anybody. And I'm going to push it down. I'm going to squish and squash my peas. Squish and squash my nuts. Squish and squash my cheese. And squish it all together. Squish and squash my peas. Squish and squash my nuts. Squish and squash my cheese. And squish it all together. Let's have a little look. I can see that the peas have broken up. I can even use my fingers to get it all together a little bit more. And maybe I'll use my spoon again too. I might need to even be a bit firmer. I'm going to squish and squash my peas. Squish and squash my nuts. Squish and squash my cheese. And squish it all together. Bong, 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 bong. Alright, I think mine's pretty good. You know, there's no perfect texture of pesto. Yours is yours and mine is mine, and they're all going to be different. But I'm pretty happy with mine about now. So now we're going to pop our pesto to the side and get our puff pastry, which is what's going to hold our tart ready. Alright, first we need to get our baking paper. And we're going to write our name somewhere on it so that we know when we're baking it whose is whose. My name's Mandy, so I'm going to write that in the corner. M-A-N-D-Y. And now we need to get our puff pastry. I've got about 1/4 of a sheet in a little square. Now this is the fun part. You can create the shape or style of your tart. You might like to do a little nest like a bird, or you might like to do a triangle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim a little bit off the side for some decorations later. You can do that too if you like, any which way you would like. Then we need to open our little bags. You might need someone to help you because they can get a bit stuck. Open it up, and we're going to use a spoon to scoop it out and pop it on our tarts. There we go. It's all beautifully mushed together. Whoops. So use your imagination on how you might like to create your tart. Doesn't have to be like this. Oh, a little pea rolled off. It's trying to escape my hunger. All right, I think I'm going to wrap it up a little bit to keep it inside. Pinch it together. Oh, isn't that cute? A little square tart. Do you know how I think I'm going to decorate it? I'm going to choose the first letter of my name. and do an M for Mandy. Perhaps you could do that with the first letter of your name. Or maybe you'd like to do a pretty pattern on top. Right, I'm going to get a wee bit more cheese to sprinkle on top. Beautiful. And then we need to pop it on our baking tray. So I'll move everything out of the way. Lift it up carefully. Oh, get back in there. And now we're going to go to the oven. All right, time to go to the oven. Remember though, when we do go to the oven, ovens can be really hot. So it's an important point for you to maybe check with an adult if you can use the oven. If you have used one before, that's okay too, but there's just a few things to remember. We need to make sure we've got either our oven mitts on or we have some tea towels to protect our hands from the hot oven. Whenever I go to the oven, I check if it's on, and if it is, I double check that I have my mitts or some tea towels. When I open the oven, I move my head and look the other way so that the steam of the oven comes out and doesn't burn my face. Then I open the oven, and with my tea towel or mitted hand, I put my tray into the oven, ensuring I don't touch the door, which is hot, or the trays inside the oven, just so I don't burn myself. Then I close the oven, put the timer on, and get ready for my delicious delight. Ooh, delicious. We took this out of the oven and let it cool for a little while so it wasn't too hot. Let's come down and eat a little bit. Oh, doesn't it look delicious? And there's my M for Mandy. I'm going to pop, it's nice and cool. I'm going to pop it on my plate. And I'm going to cut mine in half. Oh, listen to it. That sounds delicious. Yum. Oh, it smells delicious. Well done, chefs. You did it. I'm so proud of you. I hope you enjoy your tart as much as I will. Mmm.